Fortnite just dropped one of the biggest updates they've ever dropped. We have a whole bunch of new items. We have a new mobility item. I'm going to talk about how you can get it, how you can use it, and what the best new drop spots are, as we have an almost entirely new map. Fortnite just gave us like 5 new POIs. I'm also going to talk, of course, about how the new Storm Surge is working. We had some issues. Pros aren't too happy, but I'm going to talk about what the issues are and, again, how we can fix it going forward. I also want to go through the new drop maps because pros have fully switched where they're dropping based on this new map. We basically have a new season, so there's lots to talk about. Let's jump into it. I thought the biggest thing I'd be discussing in today's video is how the new Storm Surge changed the tournaments, how the Eval Cup went. Little did I know I would be waking up to one of the biggest updates we've ever seen mid-season. This is like almost a Stark season level update. We have now gotten a whole bunch of POI changes, a whole bunch of new items. I'm going to cover exactly what's new because it feels like I'm breaking down a new season. So first off, we now have no more medallions. No medallions, no mythics, no exotics. Basically anything that made the bug season is now gone. All the bugs are taken out of the POI. There's no more OXR ranks, which means you can't open the bunkers. They're still there and they have a bit of loot in them, but they don't have like an exotic or anything. And then because there's no bugs, there's no queens, there's no medallions. So we are basically in a new season. We're in the K-pop Demon Hunter season. So it did bring with it some cool items, I must say as well. As far as the map, I'm also a big fan of this change. I used to really like mythic drops and medallions. I thought they were cool and it was like, you know, the best team fights over. If they lock it down, they get it. And then, oh my gosh, they're going to win the game. But we've had medallions and mythics for so many seasons now, and especially on NA, it does feel like just one team always gets it. Peterbot and Pollo. And I don't think with this update, Peterbot and Pollo are now no longer the favorites to win, but I do really like competitive metas where it feels like more of the teams have a chance before the tournament even starts. So many tournaments now, you talk about how based on drops, there is one clear favorite. Like Globals, Queasy's team was the favorite team. And then we also had like Pollo's team at Globals, who was the favorite. And while teams can still underperform despite having really good loot, like we saw with Pollo's team at Globals, it does feel a little bit weird going into competitive events where one team just feels like they're the team to beat and everyone else is playing at a disadvantage. With this new meta, that's not really the case. There's no one POI that I think is just by far the best POI, and that's why so many teams have now switched their drop spots. The POIs haven't changed too drastically outside of obviously losing all of the bugs. We now have Dreamy Domain, we have Ranger's Rest, we have Bug Swatter Beach, Harmony Hills. Now, for the most part, these POIs are still in the exact same spot, and they give a relatively similar amount of loot. We have had some teams switch their drops. Peterbot is no longer going where the Hive was, which is now Bug Swatter Beach. Peterbot has decided to move to Ranger's Rest, and because he moved there, it meant that Acorn and Bolts have now gone Supernova. So there is already some POIs that are kind of showing off to be a little bit better, like Ranger's Rest. That's why Peterbot's going there, but I don't think if you're dropping Ranger's Rest uncontested, you just have the best loot in the game and no one else can compete. Oh my god, he gets a mythic every game and he gets an exotic every game. It's not like that anymore. So I can't tell you what the best POI is because I don't really know if there is one. I'm gonna trust Pete, Pollo, and Razaru, their coach, know what's going on, and Peterbot basically usually gets his pick of POIs, and he picked Ranger's Rest out of all of them. There could have been some other situations there where maybe there was other teams that he thought wouldn't leave their POI. Maybe he wanted to go, you know, Utopia because it could be better, but there's already Pump and Cold there. I don't know, but for now, Peterbot's picked Ranger's Rest, and I think it is a really, really good POI. At the start of the update, the POIs that had the loot drones was by far the best POIs. You saw a lot of teams on EU trying to claim the loot drop POIs because the new mask item only dropped out of loot drones and the flags. But now that the mask drops anywhere, which I'll talk about in a second, honestly, all of the POIs are super balanced. So let's talk about the new weapons, the new items. So the main new weapon is the Goofy mask, or whatever it's called. It's basically the Void Oni mask reskinned. It has 16 uses. You have 3 charges for it has to cool down, so you can't just keep teleporting back to back to back, and they are very easy to find. They drop out of chests, they drop out of big ammo boxes, they drop out of loot drones, they drop from flags, they drop on the floor, they drop everywhere. Basically, your duo is going to get 2 every single game, and a lot of people, myself included, really like this. If we're going to have a mobility item in the game that's as strong as these masks, it feels good that everyone has a chance to get them. Again, just like one POI not being by far the best loot, now with the mobility, it doesn't feel like if you don't find the mobility, you're at a huge disadvantage because everyone's finding the mobility now as well. So I'm a fan of the masks. Again, I would much prefer this over a no mobility meta. I'm guessing the reason why Fortnite didn't fix the Crash Pad Juniors for so long is because they knew this item was coming out and they knew people would run this item over Crash Pad Juniors. There's just no way you wouldn't run them. They are insanely strong. I would prefer other mobility items if I'm being honest, but for the most part, I'm a fan. I'm happy these are back in the game. Solo cash cups are going to be a little bit crazy, a little bit chaotic, and don't worry, Whoever does well in this week's Solo Cash Cup, I'll jump in a call with them. I'll get them to break down their gameplay. I'll try and get a VOD review video for you guys up in the next few days talking about how to play the meta now with these in the game because they're changing everything. The other item we got is now the ramen item. They're a healing item and they're extremely strong. They give 50 health or shield, and you can stack 3 of them, and they give you a spicy effect. So basically, you carry them over everything because they're just better to carry than any other med pretty much, except for legendary slurps, but you only get those out of the Rift Pod now. So they're definitely worth carrying. A little pro tip, if you're using them for heal off, they do out heal a 10 tick, but that means if you take 1 tick of 10 damage and you go down to 90 health, don't pop it straight away because you'll actually miss out on the last part of the healing. You kind of want to wait till you take a little bit more damage, but they're extremely good. And I'm a fan. It's a cool item. It's unique. It fits in with the whole K-pop Demon Hunter vibe. I'm going to be honest, I haven't watched the movie or show. I actually don't know. A lot of people have told me I should watch it. I mean, let me know in the comments if I should, but apparently it has to do with that. That's why you're eating the ramen noodles, but that wasn't even the biggest item they added. One of the biggest items they added that's going way under the radar because almost no one can find it is the new shield bubble. It's a shield bubble that you throw down, and while you're in it, you gain shield. It's a really cool item. You get 5 health every like 1.5 seconds, which is insane, but it's very hard to actually find them consistently, so no one's really running them. But if you can find them, you can carry up to 2 of them, and honestly, they would be pretty decent, especially when you're getting lobby focused. I also feel like this update just made the map prettier. It's just nicer to look at. All the new POIs look really, really cool. Like I said, this was a huge mid-season update that I feel like kind of went under the radar, and it's still, you know, there's still a lot coming out. Leakers talked about, you know, this update coming out, but I don't think they talked about how much content is in it, and we still have so much more to come with Fortnitemares. All of this is linking into Fortnitemares because obviously Halloween is later this month, so I'm expecting to see even more crazier content coming into that, but this has completely changed the competitive meta, and for the most part, watching the Eval Cup today, I really enjoyed it. The only thing that wasn't too great was the Storm Surge. Let's talk about how the new Storm Surge is playing out. Now, first off, I have to be honest, going into this, obviously, you guys saw my video, I had my concerns with this Storm Surge. So I was going in a little bit biased. I was expecting it to be boring, I was expecting it to make players not want to fight, and I was expecting it to be a little bit confusing. It was all of that and so much worse. You have to take my word for it. You can trust the pros as well. But the worst part was it wasn't even working properly. So I will say this. Again, I'm extremely happy that Epic is testing this and the Eval Cup is where it needs to be tested. I understand that completely. But the problem is I don't think it was even working properly. Now, I'm going to play a clip behind me. This is Braids. Braids was playing in the Eval Cup final. I want you to see how far below Surge he is and see how much damage he does. And it doesn't move at all. A few times I was watching this on stream, a lot of people saying, oh, they're doing damage not going up because their teammates may be getting tagged, or the person shooting them is the team that they're above, so when they do damage back, they don't go up and above, and everyone was trying to find reasons, but in this clip alone, Braids does like 300 damage to like 9 different players, and it doesn't move at all. His Surge doesn't move, and it's not just a display bug. It's not just displaying that it's not moving, because he's also still getting hit by a Surge. And this was one of about 10 or 15 different examples I saw throughout the day. I did a 12.5-hour stream watching all of the EU Eval Cup, all of the NA Eval Cup, Opens and Finals, and there was so many different instances of me seeing this. So I will just say right now, the Surge does just appear to be bugged. So we can't fully judge exactly how it's going to play out yet because this caused a lot of issues. There was other times I'd watch teams and them getting Surge was completely fine. It seems like there was a period right around when Surge most often goes active, going into half zone, where it would stop counting. But it looks like it counted the damage before that, and it was also counting the damage after that in rotating zones. So I don't know if it was like it breaks because there's too much going on, but what I will say is even though it was bugged, so we can't fully judge it, the way it made pros play because they were expecting it to work was pretty awful for the game. Teams would literally get 1 or 2 assault rifle tags and then just base up in the middle of the map and stare at walls, which is what a lot of us said was going to happen. Again, there is no incentive to fight whatsoever once you have a little bit of damage. And you might say, Aussie, that's good. We have stacked endgames. And yes, while I agree that does lead to stacked endgames, I really do think there needs to be more incentives to fight. The Eval Cup is a victory-only format. You only get money for winning the game, so maybe in a regular format where kills are worth points, teams might try to go for kills, but based on all the pros I've spoken to today, they all hated it. They've all said they're not going to go for kills in a regular format. They're just going to hit 2 tags and camp. And then if you drop on the edge of the map or you go below, even if it was actually counting up properly, it just feels impossible to try to get back above because every time you fight someone, they deal damage back to you, so you go further below. And then even if you take them down, you're out of position, so you try to rotate, you get tagged a few times. It's just again, a lot of the issues we were foreseeing have come up, but again, I did get a really good suggestion given to me in my chat on how this could be fixed. This is not a foolproof fix by any means, and there's a lot of suggestions being given out right now, and honestly, none of them are perfect. There seems to be no perfect way to fix Storm Surge. It's all pros and cons, and there's all a few issues with all of them. But one of the good ones I've heard is if we have this new Storm Surge where it's net damage, damage done, minus damage taken, the main issue with that is when you're fighting someone, if you hit them for, 200, but they hit you for 150, you only gain 50. But the suggestion is, what if the team that once you fully eliminate them, you wipe them out of the game, any damage they've done to you is gone, it's wiped clean. So you did 200 damage, they did 150, but you've now finished them, so you get to have that full 200 damage above. It means you're rewarded if you take a fight and win the fight. You should be safe on Surge for the rest of the game, but it means that teams that are in the middle of the map and tagging people, if they're trading, just hitting one tag and a hit back, they're not going above. But it also means if you're in good position, you're hitting tags on players rotating past you in the open, you're also still rewarded for that because they presumably won't be dealing damage back to you. So it gives you a way to have to jump in and get your Surge and get rewarded for a fight. It also still enables teams to play safe. They don't have to fight, but it does mean you can't trade. Now, I know there's a few issues with this. If someone like stole the kill, like you've got someone on 1 HP, you're about to finish them and then someone else hits them for a tag. That would be frustrating. And again, like I said, none of these Surge options are perfect, but it was a unique, interesting solution that I heard of that I thought I might mention. A lot of you guys in the comments are mentioning a lot of other solutions like, having a capped range, like where you can't get Surge past certain range, having multipliers on certain weapons, capped zones, capped amount of players. We've already talked about all those options. And again, some of them are good, some of them are bad, some have pros, some have cons. Hopefully, Fortnite's going to keep testing out Storm Surge and we can find some way to fix it. I think everyone agrees that, fixing Storm Surge is awesome, but this current change, unfortunately, just doesn't seem like it. Now, even though we did have the bug surge, I do want to talk about which teams were doing really well despite this because they are looking quite good in this mobility meta. Kicking off with EU, we had Chap and Flixie absolutely popping off. This team didn't care at all that you gain nothing from fighting. They were fighting everyone. Again, I wouldn't recommend playing like this, but when you're as good at fighting as Chap and Flixie, you may as well. And honestly, this team looks like they just get bored if they're not W keying. So even though it meant nothing, they got no reward from it. They did pull off a 6 elimination win in game 1. They got a 4 elimination 6th, an 8 elimination 14th, and then a 15 elimination 10th. Where again, if they played the meta, they camped up, stared at a wall, they probably could have won more of these games, but I respect them going out there and playing the way they play. That playstyle in divisional cups will work really, really well. Then we had Specs and Gonzo, who also got an 8 elimination win in game 2. We had Belusi and Zang, who got a 5 elimination win in the last game. And then Chino and Veno, who got an 8 elimination win in game 3. Now, I talked about in yesterday's video how Chino and Veno didn't make the finals. They came 51st overall. A team above them actually got disqualified. Della and Kalle, they're the Swedish team. If you've heard me gassing him up, Kalle is the guy who's been at the top of all of the elim and damage leaderboards. And I've been talking about how good he is, how he's an up-and-comer. And then obviously people are going to be suspicious of that. Again, I was suspicious when I first saw him. He has been streaming every event though, so I don't really understand what's going on here with him cheating. He also hasn't been banned. He's just been disqualified from the tournament. He played in today's eval cup and was able to queue it out and play it, and again streamed it, showing he's not cheating. So a little bit confused on what's going on here. A lot of people instantly jumping on the fact that, oh, he's came out of nowhere, he has to be cheating. And yeah, you can cheat on stream, but I've watched this guy play for a fair bit and I don't see anything suspicious. So he might be cheating, or maybe his teammate Della is cheating, but I really need to just wait and see what happens because it's a confusing situation. If they're cheating, they should be banned. If they didn't get banned, they got disqualified. But why are they get disqualified if they didn't do anything wrong? So I'm going to wait and see what happens here, but I want to at least mention them and, give their side of the story, because a lot of people are just saying, oh, they have to be cheating when they're both claiming they're not. And again, Kalle has been streaming all his tournaments, but Chino and Veno have made the finals, which is going to be really fun to watch. Taking a look at NA, again, a lot of people saying, oh man, no exotics, no mythics. Pete and Poyo are going to start falling off. Pete needs mythics. He needs that crazy loot. Pete came out in the Eval Cup finals and won game 1 with a 13 elimination win, proving to people that he doesn't need the crazy loot. And again, Pete has obviously kind of rose to prominence in the last couple years with a lot of the mythic and exotic loot. But if you watch Pete and Poyo play, they're still a phenomenal duo who have a very good understanding of the game, and they're obviously going to thrive in any meta. Now, it is going to be hard, I think, for this duo to be as consistent in this meta now. Like, I don't think we'll see them winning every Cash Cup, every FNCS the perfect year, because if Fortnite's moving away from medallions and mythics, it's a battle royale at the end of the day. Things can go against you. The margin for error is so much smaller when you don't have crazy loot. If you have a 200 pump and you get put into a bad spot and you can 200 pump them, or you can pop a slip, or you can double jump out of a box, it's always going to let you get away with a little bit more that you just can't get away with in a normal meta. It doesn't mean Peterbot and Poyo, in my opinion, aren't still the best duo in NA. It just means it's going to be a little bit harder to win everything. But they came out with a 13 elim win, couldn't load into game 2. Then they got a 4 elim 4th and a 4 elim 5th. So still looking very, very good in this meta. Although Peterbot did have a lot of negative things to say about this new surge, making fun of it. And him and Poyo had some memes about how they were like, you know, if any of them took damage, they got yelled at because they were just rotating around the map and then just sitting in towers doing nothing the whole game. So Ark and Kanata also got an 8 elimination win in their last game, but they also got a 5th, 11th, and 7th. So very, very consistent from Ark and Kanata. But again, dropping uncontested at a mid-map POI. They are now going where Rangers used to be. So they look going the fly swatter, whatever it is, the bug swatter beach. So they're looking very, very good out of that POI as well. Then we had Rapid and Threats, who managed to get a 9 elim win and a 5 elim 3rd, continuing their dominance on NA so far. And then Curve and Craze, a new duo, getting a 6 elim win in their second game. We also had Acorn and Bolts, who managed to get a 15th, 7th, 2nd, and 2nd. So no win for Acorn and Bolts, who've now switched their drop spot. Like I said, they are now going Supernova because they did not want to contest Pete and Poyo at Rangers. Still finding a lot of success out of a brand new drop spot and doing it while contested by Chimp and Skittles. So very, very impressive performance from Acorn and Bolts. Now, some of these drop spots might change. I do have to warn you. I don't know if every team has now gotten on today and picked their new drop spots. Some of them definitely have. So I want to talk about where the new drop spots are looking for the Div Cup. Now, based on Epic's wording, the Div Cup finals this week should not have the new surge. It should be played on the old surge. The concern I have right now, though, is the new surge is in the tournament settings for scrims, which means they've turned it on for every tournament. So don't know if that's going to cause an issue. Hopefully not, but I'm guessing pros have picked their drop spots based on the old surge, but the new POIs. So again, this could change, but right now, let's talk about NA. I already talked about some of these. Peterbot and Poyo have switched their drop to Rangers. They are now going Rangers uncontested because Acorn and Bolts have gone to Supernova. They are contesting Skittles and Chimp in the finals there. We have Issue and Sales, who are contesting Ark and Kanata, who are now going Bug Swatter because they wanted to leave their mid-map section. Clicks and Higgs are still uncontested at OXR. Aegis Yomzo are still uncontested over at Demons. Rapid and Threats still uncontested down at Canyon. So most of our big teams haven't changed too much. We still have our spawn fight between Epic Whale, Pump, Ritual, and Cold over at Dystopia. It is worth mentioning, Ritual and Cold managed to lose 3 games in a row in the Eval Cup finals, but bring back game number 4. So right now, Ritual and Cold struggling a bit at Dystopia, but they are doing well once they make it off spawn. Outside of that, there's not too many other big drop swaps. We have Aviv and Booga going the shafts. They're now going up against Haki and Vert. Josh and Chance have still locked down their split on the mid-map. We have Void and Ozone versus Noisy and Tony down at the fields. A lot of teams seem to be trying to lock down the fields or trying to go these mid-map POIs now, assuming that the Storm Surge might actually change. We have Seek and Jojo versus Pluzzy and Fade, which is right next to Clicks and Higgs. Clicks and Higgs have a great situation right now with OXR Hill. They can pretty much key any of these teams around them. Pretty much everyone's contested. If they want to key, I don't know if they're going to just, again, if it's going to be on the new surge, they're probably going to sit back, tag a couple times, and just wait and play safe. We have now got some weird triple contested POIs. We got Electro versus Scarebear versus Roxanne down at Shogun, but NA Finals is looking like it's going to be pretty fun. Now, taking a look at the EU map, it looks like it hasn't actually changed to be on the new map, so I don't know how many of these teams are going to switch their drop spots. I'm noticing a lot of the teams are going areas that don't really exist anymore, so I think the EU drop map needs to be updated, but I do want to talk about where some teams are going who I know are staying there. We have Taste and Apple who are going Rangers. They're going to be uncontested, as we have Froxy and Pablo not making the finals. Otherwise, they will be contesting them going forward. We have Queasy and Thomas going Canyon. Again, obviously, there's a lot of talk of whether Queasy and Thomas were going to split. I'm not really sure what's going on there. Again, Thomas said he wouldn't play with Queasy unless he doesn't stream. They did stream in the Eval Cup, and they're still playing together, so it looks like they patched things up there. Acorn and Peterbot are uncontested at Shogun right now, so we have an NA team finally making EU finals and uncontested, which should be really fun to watch. Now that Chino and Veno are qualified into the finals, they're going to be contesting Gordetti and Joni at Dystopia. We have Sky and Marius knocking down OXR, and it looks like we should have Heiku, Sui, and Ilusha and Scuzzy versing each other at Fly Swatter. But there's a lot of teams around the middle of the map here who aren't really dropping on a lot of loot, so I feel like they haven't updated their drop spots just yet. We have Focus and Risk going up against Shark and Teeny over at Supernova, which again should be really fun to watch and see how that one plays out. But I don't want to read too much into the rest of the drop spots, so I don't know if anyone's actually going there and if it will change.